now.
And that was something that Child Rights International put together. And we'll be playing a lot more of those for you because the effect of galamsey is really, really hurting all of us. Aulasewa joins us. She's the coordinator for the eco-citizens, eco-conscious citizens. Aula, good morning. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. Belated Happy New Year. And thanks for all you're doing for Ghana.
Thank
we
you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Aulasewa. Grateful. Now, this fight against galamsey, it looks like everybody has forgotten about it again. Oh,
actually, we haven't. I mean,
I know you haven't, but I'm looking at the totality of our country, men and women. Everybody seems to have left the fight for a few people.
That is true. The journalists are doing their best. Some of them are putting their lives on the line. But what we need to do is to remind Ghanaians that the threat has not gone away. We are still facing an existential threat. As we speak, our waters are being poisoned. Water is life.
The best in the morning.
Obviously, if it continues, we are all going to perish. Our forest reserves are being destroyed at an alarming rate. So what we need to do immediately is to declare a state of emergency. The house is burning. When your house is burning, you stop everything you are doing and focus on putting out the fire. It's like a house burning. Not only are our water bodies being poisoned and our forest reserves being decimated, our food chain is being compromised. When you are eating your tubers, even your plantain, do you know where it's coming from? The fishes are diseased.
Right.
Apart from that, we also have national security threats. Some of the enforcement agencies are being rebuffed by the illegal miners who are actually environmental terrorists. So we need to act now until, if we don't, Ghana will sink to the level of some Latin American countries where the drug cartels control certain areas and they become no-go areas. So we need to nip it in the bud. So we should have done this yesterday. So the next best time is now. We need to declare a state of emergency, go into the forest reserves, water bodies, remove all the illegal miners, the environmental terrorists and their equipment. Find out who owns the equipment and go after them.
Right.
Simultaneously, we need to investigate all those who were named in Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, prosecute them. If they are found guilty, their assets should be sold and used towards the cost of reclamation so that we all know that the polluter pays. The polluter pays. You cannot just pollute and walk away.
Now, the conversation about organized labor or disorganized labor, as I choose to call them these days, because we were all banking our hopes on them. And then suddenly they went to the president of the day at the time and they were told to wait and give some more time. And that was the end of the conversation. Should they be revising their notes to come back to the table?
You see, no, you made a very important point. But we were told in the good book we should not put our trust in man. And as you've rightly said, organized labor let us down big time. We had the government. They knew very well that if organized labor, with the resources they had, they called a general strike, would have ended this whole matter of illegal mining. We would have done it. Organized labor made us believe that they had the interests of Ghanaians and Ghana at heart, and they would call the general strike unless the government did certain things. What the government actually do, if the LI 2462 has not yet been repealed, they are told it's going to be done. They did not declare a state of emergency. They did not go into the forest reserves and water bodies to stop the environmental terrorism going on. So on what basis did organize or disorganize, whatever you want to call them, call off the strike? And even if they called it off, they should have been monitoring. When they realized that they were hoodwinked, and again, I have concerns. People who are able to conduct high-level negotiations, how were they hoodwinked by the government? They should have resumed the strike. It's not too late. They can give President Mahamas a deadline. If he hasn't done what needs to be done, call a general strike. It's not too late.
Now, the question is, do you see President Mahamas being committed to this fight to take the bull by the horn?
It's very difficult to say. We all know the pronouncement he made a while back that he would not arrest the illegal miners. In opposition, he did say he would declare a state of emergency. I can't understand what is preventing him from doing so. So I do not know. I was concerned when I heard the vice president say and I think you would have the tape, that she wasn't going to stop galamsey, she was going to educate them. I mean, I find that extraordinary. But even then, you need to pause community mining. Even if you want to educate people, first of all, some of the areas they are in, there's no education. You cannot be on water bodies. You just have to remove them. You cannot be in globally significant biodiversity areas. You have to remove them. But even those who you think are mining in areas where one can mine, but they need education, we need to stop all the community mining now and then do some assessment before we can say that, look, you've now been fully educated, we've got our monitoring in place. Because as you know, we are allergic to enforcement. The EPA and other bodies, are they monitoring? When somebody is given a license, do they even monitor to make sure that you are mining where you are supposed to mine and not somewhere else? Who is doing the checking? Does the community even know all the documents you need to have before you can commence digging? So I don't think that we really grasp the seriousness of the problem. If we had, like President Trump, I'm no fan of President Trump, but give it to him. The things he said he would do, he wasn't waiting for anything. As soon as, at the earliest opportunity, he started putting his measures in place. If you know you are coming to rule, you've already got your plan, and even before inauguration, you've put everything, you set everything. So as soon as the inauguration ceremony is over, you start doing what you're supposed to do. You don't start dilly-dallying.
Now, the civil society organizations who have not yet come to the party or come to understand the gravity or the enormity of the conversation, what would you say to them?
Well, I will say to them what we are saying right now. Wake up and smell the coffee. We face an existential threat. Water is life. All Ghanaians, every single Ghanaian, should be angry enough to say, you cannot poison me. You cannot poison me. Now let's look at the water we are drinking, even the bottled water. Do you know where it's coming from? What assurance do you have that the bottled water you are drinking is safe? What assurance do you have? And therefore, we all have to say that Ghana belongs to all of us, not only one group of people. And we need to stop what is happening, declare a state of emergency, go into the forest reserves, water bodies, remove all the terrorists, remove the equipment, pause community mining. And of course, repeal LI 2462 and also EI 144, which declassified parts of Achimota Forest, the last remaining forest reserve in Accra, the lungs of Accra. And then, as I said, pause community mining, small-scale mining, whatever you want to call it. And let's start putting proper systems in place and ensuring that we enforce them. Because if somebody has a driving license, does that mean that because they have a driving license, they can drive on the pavement, they can drive while drunk, they can drive on zebra crossings? Of course not. Having a license doesn't mean you can do what you like. There are rules and regulations. So I'll tell the CSOs and all Ghanaians, you need to join the fight. We did not vote for musical chairs, one set of persons who don't care about Ghana to another set. We voted for real change, and real change can only be demonstrated in these measures we are talking about, declaring a state of emergency and stopping the mayhem that is taking place.
When should President Mahama be declaring the state of emergency?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
When should President Mahama be declaring the state of emergency?
Yesterday. The next best time is today. We cannot afford to dilly-dally. As each second we waste, we are emboldening the illegal miners. Look at what they did to Erastus Asaredonko. Look at what they did to Ohemeng Teria. And each time they are being emboldened. And each time you are pushing Ghana closer and closer to some of the failed Latin American states where I said the drug cartels control areas. Every minute you waste, our water bodies are becoming worse and worse. Soon we'll not have any clean water bodies. Even the Black Volta is under threat. So we need to do it yesterday. The next best time is today, now.
Awala Sewa of Eco-Conscious Citizens, thank you very much. I'm grateful.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And you heard from Awala Sewa, very passionate about it. Let's say the Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources.
Will you support the placement of a ban, for example, say 2 years, to facilitate the restoration of our water bodies and natural resources? Will you support such a ban?
Chairman, as I've said, we know
the challenges we face: degraded land, polluted water bodies, destruction of our forests. These are very grave issues. It requires a real approach. It doesn't require ad hoc measures, and I believe that we must take our time to find the solutions that will be long-lasting. When I'm given the nod, I will do the right consultation with the experts and make sure that we take an approach that will help us to solve this problem.
That's Emmanuel Kofi Boa, PhD, who is the Minister Designate for Lands and Natural Resources there. But there's some breaking news coming through.
Breaking news on 3FM 92.7. Breaking news on 3FM 92.7.
Well, we do have information from the presidency, and President John Dramani Mahama has made some appointments to the office of the vice president. He has approved the appointment of the following individuals to the office of the vice president. They are expected to bring their wealth of experience and expertise to their respective roles and contribute significantly to resetting Ghana, the resetting Ghana agenda to build the Ghana we all want. Alex Percival Segbefia is Chief of Staff to the Office of the Vice President. Mrs. Alberta Graham is Head of Administration. Professor Theresa Enin is Presidential Staffer and Special Aide to the Vice President. Ms. Daniela Mavis Matthias is Secretary to the Vice President. Dr. Samuel Ofusuampofo is Policy Advisor Political. Professor Sharif Mahmoud Khalid is Policy Advisor on Economics. Dr. Hamza Zakaria is Policy Advisor on Economics. And then also Ms. Mansa Amoa Ewa is the Vice Presidential Policy Advisor on Finance. Dr. Miriam Rihanna Idrisu is Policy Advisor, Social Sector, and Mami Ama Pratt is the Press Secretary to the Office of the Vice President, signed by Felix Kwachi Ofosu, Acting Spokesperson to the President of the Republic. And that's breaking news.
Breaking news on 3FM 92.7.